Howdy do! Hey, I got a special one for you. My friend just poured this for me. There's a reason for that, and let me. Oh, it's got a beautiful aroma. So here's a story on this beer. My friend Steve, you can tell I'm back at Steve's house, gave me a call just a little bit ago. He helped a friend do some homebrewing a little while ago, and they had just got some ready, and he poured Steve a little bit to take home, about a half growler's worth. It is described as an American brown. It is called what? Jan's Brown.
Jan's Brown.
Jan's Brown. So I am going to let my off-camera announcer read the stats while I sniff here.
Well, Chris was kind enough to give me some of the details here, and this will mean more to Tom than it will to me here, but 38.2 IBUs, 6.2% ABV. It's got a specific gravity of 1.011. And he added a little teaser of the recipe. He said he's got Northern Brewer for bittering, Cascade for aroma and flavor, and finished off with some Centennial dry hops. And I'm sure Tom can clarify there. Hope he likes it.
All right. Did y'all get all that? 6238. Northern Brewer for bittering, was that right? Northern Brewer for bittering, Cascade for aroma.
And flavor. And then Centennial dry hops.
And dry hop with Centennial. So that's going to give you an idea what we're going to be working with here. So let's have a taste. I've been looking for. I haven't met Chris personally yet. He's a friend of my friend Steve's here, and I've got together with him via Facebook. So I've had a conversation with him on Facebook, but I've never met him personally. But from what I understand, he's a very serious home brewer, so I'm very interested in trying this beer. I haven't started drinking yet, and I already can't speak. So let's take a. Wow. Okay. Oh. Nice. Let's see the color there. He's calling it American Brown. That's, that you get a little color. It's a little darker than many browns.
Yeah, he and I kind of agreed it kind of has that stouty look to it.
Oh, the aroma's fantastic. Let me kind of give you an idea here. Cascades, you kind of got an idea what you're going to get from Cascades. You're going to get these slightly piney notes going on from the Cascade. And then you've got these peppery notes that hit you on the back of your palate. Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's very nice. It is hoppier than your typical American brown. It is much hoppier than a traditional British brown, much hoppier, but it's hoppier than, of course, American beers tend to be hoppier anyway, but it is hoppier than your average run of the mill American brown. This is fantastic, actually. Body.
It's got like the perfect carbonation.
I would say it's got about a medium body, kind of medium mouthfeel to it. It is about where you want this to be. It is light enough to be refreshing late summer, early fall, but it's also big enough to be satisfying fall, early winter. It's one of those beers that kind of gives you that that window both directions. Because of the dry hoppiness at the end, it does allow it to be refreshing for you. There is something else, though, that I'm trying to decipher here. I'm getting some fruity raisin-like notes. Almost like a Belgian double. I'm getting some fruit notes, almost like it's sort of a cross between a an American brown and a Belgian double. It's one of those. It's like many American beers. This is the homebrew, obviously, but it is like many American beers. It kind of defies style, and that's what makes American brewers so great, especially American homebrewers, is that they don't seem to put themselves in a box. They want to put flavors together that taste good, regardless of what that final outcome is going to be. The problem when you do something like that, really. Is only if you enter these into competition, because sometimes it's hard to find the proper category for your beer. But if I was personally to describe this, I would call it somewhere between a Belgian double and an American brown, because of it has a slightly dry finish and it has bigger fruit notes than you'd expect from an American brown. Does that make sense to you? Do
Oh
you
yeah,
agree with? Are you getting the same thing?
I agree with you. I think the way I can describe it is it's got a pretty hoppy. I guess the opposite of a finish. I'm not quite sure the terminology. I get a blast of hops to start, but it doesn't have that lingering hoppy aftertaste that stays with you. It's got a very good smooth finish.
For me, it's leaving a little dry, slightly dry.
And I know it should be dry. Actually, the way I got involved is he was doing some pretty creative chemistry at the end of the brewing process to dry it out.
And that's what makes it great. It's got a very crisp, clean, dry finish. It just kind of shuts off. And that's very good. But the more I went through this, actually I'm near the end now, but the more I drank, the more I did get the fruit notes. So I'm guessing if I had a pint of this, and I started at about 45 degrees, and I was probably closer to 55 to 60 by the end of the pint, those fruit notes would get even bigger, because they tend to grow, or for me anyway, they tend to grow as I went through this. I was getting I was getting a lot of those cascade notes, but then as I worked through it, the malt sort of shined through, and I got a lot of raisin, and then I'm getting a lot of date and fig going on now. So the more I drink this, the more I'm going to stand by, and I hope the brewer agrees with me when he sees this video, that I'm going to stand by what I say, that this feels like somewhere between an American brown and a Belgian double, because he definitely has some notes and qualities of a Belgian double. This is an absolutely beautiful beer that would be at 6.2. I'm not going to call it a session beer, because most sessions, well, if you want to go traditional, it could be 4, it could be 4.5. Depends on who you want to listen to. I've got my own opinion. I'm not going to give it right now because that doesn't matter. 6.2 is not session by anybody's, but I'm gonna, but using it sort of, using the term session loosely, meaning just simply meaning a beer that's easy to drink. I'm going to say this is not a session beer, but it is a beer that could be easily sessioned. Does that make sense to you? How about that?
You said that better than I would. Yeah, I was, when he was describing it to me and how complex it was, my thought was it was going to be, as you and I mentioned before, a one and done. And and I would drink a lot more of these.
It's right. I would love to pound this thing, because the aromas were beautiful at first, as I denoted, but even as I'm facing an empty glass here, I've got just a tiny bit. The aromas have really gotten bigger, and I'm still getting those cascade notes. I'm still getting the peppery pine. I'm still getting those notes, but not only on the palate, I'm also getting bigger fruit notes on the nose now. It is absolutely beautiful. And the first thing I picked up was raisin, but now that I've drank it more, I'm actually getting more fig on it than I am the raisin now. But the first thing I noticed was the raisin. Oh, damn, this is beautiful, man. Hey, Chris, I really appreciate you. Woo! Thanks, man. Some beer reviewers don't like to do homebrews because, a lot of the purpose for people to do beer reviews is to send folks out to get the beer or not get the beer, whatever the case may be. But I don't really do beer reviews. I'm more of a beer appreciation guy. I'm the color commentary to the play-by-play. So for me, it's about beer appreciation. So anytime I get a chance to do homebrews, I welcome it. So thanks again, Chris, for Jan's Brown. This is absolutely beautiful. And the unfortunate part of what I just said is that I wish I could get this in the hands of a lot of people. I guess he was able to brew 4 gallons, but I hope this is a recipe he hangs on to and brews a lot more of, because this is an absolutely beautiful beer. Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. And I ran this video a little longer than I planned, but wow, that's a damn fine beer. Tried to hit stop and it kept going. Now I'm going to stop. I was just kidding. Now I'm gone.